Let's see here. Come on in, guys. This is going to be really, 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 really quick. This is going to be really, really, really quick. This is going to be really quick. Come on in here, guys. Come on in. Come on in, guys. Come on in. We got to talk real quick. I ain't going to keep y'all long. This is very unexpected. However, this is a must. I have to get this out because I feel like this will be a good conversation. So come on in, guys. Come on in. Let me know if you can hear me and if you can see me. Well, I know you can't see me because I have the camera off. In a bit of a rush here. I haven't even made it through this entire 4 hour interview yet. But I get exactly what's going on. I did make it through the other interview, but I'm going to break this down kind of like in layman's terms, which I think Terrence already did. However, we got to talk about this real quick, y'all. We got to come on in, share this with someone. This is very important. I think Terrence Howard is he may be the Negro Nostradamus. I'm just trying to figure it out. I think he has gotten contacted by some very ancient ancestors of his. This and I'm going to explain. I'm going to explain it. Okay, I'm going to explain it. Just share this. I know at least one of y'all know Terrence Howard. I have to eventually get this live to Terrence Howard. Um, because here's the thing, okay? I was gonna wait till everybody load in, but I can't be on here long because I have some other stuff to do. But hey everybody. Hey, so y'all can hear me. Okay, hey Marcus, hey Kim, hey Ready to Learn, hey y'all, hey Jariah, hey Sinitra, hey sister. I hope you're doing well. Hey Goddess number 9, hey y'all, hey Neek, hey Pernell, come on in, y'all. Share this as you come in. We're about to have a science talk real quick, okay? But it's gonna be like, um, let's just okay, let's do this right. I hate that it's a lot of people aren't in here, but this is a pop up live. Um, this is a pop up live. Somebody said, "Whoop that tree." This is a pop up live, and that's how the cookie crumbles. Uh, so listen here, y'all. Terrence Howard did this Joe Rogan podcast on yesterday, and it already has, I think, somewhere in the ballpark of 3 million views. And I think it's a two-part reason why it has so many views. For one, people are sunning him, and for two, I think people wanted to hear Eric Weinstein, what his views were, more so than what Terrence Howard's views are, if that makes sense. Um, and I would say to Terrence, like, don't let anybody sun you in the realm of science. You know, there are thousands of people with science degrees doing various science related jobs. You know, for example, I have a science degree. I liquefy plants, you know, which is just a cool way of saying I turn plants into products. I make body wash, shower gel. I could turn a plant into almost anything once I find out the properties of that plant. Okay. So some people have science degrees, some people have physics degrees, zoology, botany. There are a lot of disciplines in the realm of science. Now, when I was in school, I even have some people who have science degrees here, you know, on my channel if they show up in the chat tonight. Now, when I was in school, when I was matriculating between 2002 2006, working on a science degree, there was no such thing as God No such thing. Now, I'm matriculated at a HBCU, right? However, the books are the same, no matter if you're at an HBCU or if you're at a freaking Ivy League. The books are the same. Cell molecular biology, biochemistry is the same book. Now, the teacher may teach you something different, but the books are the same. So, there was no such thing as God. Jesus wasn't in the equation. No higher power was in the equation. It was just science, like a Big Bang theory. This is how it happened. A plus B equals C, you know. But from a Negro black standpoint, when you were raised in the church, you always have in the back of your mind that there is definitely a higher power. Fast forward to maybe 2010, 2011, science started introducing a higher power. Like, well, maybe there's something else out there. So that means the realm of science has changed, even from when I was in school till 10 years after I graduated. Science has changed. Now they're introducing a higher power. Now they're trying to study this higher power. Now you have scientists working for DARPA. Now you have scientists trying to create a particle collider. Now you have CERN. Now you have all these things that is trying to get contact with another dimension to see whether another dimension is somehow shining knowledge down, and somehow this other dimension is beyond a Big Bang theory, but maybe it's DNA. You know, maybe DNA has translated or something. They have added a higher power to science. In comes people like Terrence Howard without a formal science education or degree, but just as self-taught. My thing is listening to Terrence interview. Please click like when you come in here, guys. We're about to talk science real quick. Click like when you come in here. Maybe more people will see this, because I almost think Terrence is being attacked in a sense, and he shouldn't be. I'm thinking, what if he is being contacted by like a higher power, you know? And here, and this is let me share this with you all right quick. This part of the interview, so you can kind of get where I'm coming from. Y'all can't hear it? Y'all can't hear it? Y'all can't hear it? Somebody said y'all can't hear it. Can y'all hear me but y'all can't hear the sound? Okay, well let me explain what he's saying. Okay, people are saying they can't hear it. Uh Hold on, let me do it again to see, can I turn it let me see if I turn it up whether you guys can hear it. Can y'all hear it now? Let me see. Can y'all hear it now? Can y'all hear it now? No. Okay. Well, I'm not. Y'all can hear me, but y'all can't hear it. Okay. So let me just explain what he's saying. I'm gonna explain what he's saying. Let me explain what he's saying. Um, he's saying that it came to him in a dream. So he has a few concepts, right? He has a few concepts. One of his concepts is one times one equals two. Now, people are saying he's crazy, but he's basically saying that two is not a prime number, but it's a composite number with many issues, geometrically. He did an equation squaring and dividing two by a decimal, the number was the same. Basically, division is the inversion operation of multiplication. However, you can multiply by zero, but you cannot divide by zero. Okay. Terrence pointed that out. Now it makes sense, but to the average person, it's like, okay, it's gibberish. Now, in the interview, Eric Weinstein's intellectual word salad, it just does not translate at all. But people love sounding educated to themselves and to their colleagues, especially if it's going to make a black man look crazy. Now, if Terrence is correct just on his math alone, just on his math concept alone, if he is correct, then all of the math books will have to be rewritten. Now, ain't no way in the hell an American black man with braids is going to topple this education system. So I believe Eric Weinstein was just kind of sent to make Terrence look crazy. Now, if Terrence was a Nigerian with these same concepts as a self-taught, autodidact, if you will, he would be welcomed with open arms in these scientific spaces, in these mathematic spaces, in the realm of physics. He probably would have a Nobel Peace Prize by now. Now, he has this other concept called the flower of life, which he said was given to him in a dream. Okay? Now, this he has made this like flower of life model, and it piqued my interest because he called it sacred geometry, which further explains, something has to be rewritten here. Now, the reason it piqued my interest, let me just say this. The reason it piqued my interest because there's possibly a double entendre history lesson that can tie into this. My first thought when he was talking about this flower, okay, was the War of Roses, right? Just he's talking about the flower of life. The War of Roses came to my mind because the War of Roses was due to the 100-year wars with France. Keep France in mind. This seems like a lot, but it's not. I'm gonna tell you about the double entendre here. Keep France in mind. Now, this war was about power. In Terrence flower of life model, basically there's these curved linear objects above a flower-shaped design, sort of like an updated tesseract. Let me show y'all a tesseract. Now, I talked about a tesseract a few years ago. I taught about a tesseract a few years ago. This is a tesseract. Some of y'all may remember this when I was teaching about the pyramid shapes that were in Jacksonville, Florida. I think it was 2002. On one of my videos, I was talking about a tesseract, and I was discussing how scientists said the sand in Jacksonville, Florida was able to be in a pyramid shape due to both copper and obsidian being inside of these mound shaped structures that they found in Jacksonville that's since been destroyed, but they was found in Jacksonville. Now, his flower of life concept kind of looked like this. It's a flower, but it has these tetrahedrons, like what you see right here. It has these tetrahedrons on a 3D or 4D, 6D, 8D model, right? It has these pyramidal shapes. Now, while his flower concept is not this tesseract, it has these tetrahedron shapes. Now, these tesseracts are directly tied to the pyramids. Now, according to archaeologists, there are over 200 plus pyramids here in America. Now, what in the hell does this have to do with Terrence, his flower of life concept, and all of the above? This is just what came to me as I was listening and trying to decipher what exactly was he saying and why are all of these whites, and even Neil deGrasse Tyson, who was a black scientist, why are they like hammering down on him so bad? Now, follow me here. During the World Wars, okay, 1 and 2, the Nazis went to war with the Masons. Nazis went to war with the Masons. That was one group that they went to war with. Now, guess who was at the center of that war? France. Okay. Think double entendre. We went to the War of Roses, which was due to the 100 Years Wars, which France was at the center. Now France is coming up here again in its second big war in history, which were the World Wars, where Hitler went to war directly with the Masons. Now, when Hitler went to war with the Masons during the World Wars, he raided all Masonic temples around the world, and he started it with France. He started it with France. Okay? He confiscated millions of files. Millions of files were confiscated. Okay? They were supposed to be returned to the heirs after the war, but they ended up in the hands of the Soviet Union. This is well documented, well researched, you know. Now, these files are considered the sacred geometry that Masons knew about, okay? As it relates to the public, it was chalked up to being some kind of occult science, and it was just kind of forgotten about in history, okay? But Masons built buildings. So they are sort of like the engineers of old. I've also heard about Masonic builders using a stone to balance out buildings, right? So what if the stone, I'm not talking about the current Masons, I'm talking about these old guys that Hitler went to war with and started confiscating millions of files all around the world, including America. What if they knew something about a stone? What if it was a crystal? What if it was what Terrence is describing? What if it was a tesser? What if it had this tetrahedron shape? What if those buildings were generating free energy, free electricity? And all of that history was destroyed for the purposes of economics, for corporate monopoly purposes, I don't know. But Terrence may be onto something, and my suggestion is that he follow his own mind. Please click like in here and share this if you like this kind of content. My suggestion is that he follow his own mind, because seeking validation from these scientific gatekeepers that are possibly hiding some kind of history, some kind of sacred geometry will not work. Now, Eric Weinstein kind of alluded in that interview to murder multiple times. Like, they'll take him out. Like, they'll take Terrence out. If you read between the lines, if you can read between the fluff and the word salad that white people give up when they be getting, during interviews, he basically referred to his scientific colleagues he literally referred to them as the Italian mob. Like, so what are you saying? Are you saying if Terrence has it right that he will get killed? Like, that's a wild interview. Now, perhaps Terrence should look into what happened during the World Wars, and that will possibly help him on his search of figuring out whatever it is that he needs to figure out. Hold on, y'all. I live in a city. It's a lot of noise. Perhaps Terrence need to go and talk to Putin, because to my knowledge, all of those files that were taken during the World Wars from Masonic temples that was raided are stored in, most of them, not all of them. Majority of them are stored in Russia today. And Putin is always flexing ancient documents of holy black men. So maybe it's all a part of the same file set. Maybe some old black man who had this sacred geometry or was a part of this sacred geometry is Terrence's ancestor, and maybe that ancestor is contacting Terrence through his dreams to get this knowledge back in the forefront, because it could be possibly a tie into free energy. Now, if Terrence mess around and come up with a free energy model that'll mess around and cancel all these hot light bills out, I'm telling you, he will topple not only the education system, but he will possibly topple the energy realm as well. He might be on. I don't know. I don't know. He might be on to something. Terrence might be on to something. He might be on to something. Now, he also has, like I said, he had a few concepts in there. He also has this linchpin concept, which is like a 6D model of a flying object. That's not as important as this flower of life concept. He compared it in this interview. He compared it to a rose, and how on the inside of a rose is really compact with these circles and these bursts of possible electricity. So I think this really ties in together with the sacred geometry that was stolen during the world wars. Okay. And what Terrence is now trying to bring to the forefront through his dreams. But at the same time, he is getting hammered. He keep going on Joe Rogan show. They're laughing at him, kind of kikiing. And I'm just saying, this is not I'm not trying to say this is a white or black thing. But when you have melanin, possibly you can get contacted by the ancestors a little quickly. When you don't have melanin, you possibly have to use all these technical terms. You probably have to do every step, versus Terrence kind of skipping the line and it coming to him in a dream. Look, I'm just saying, Terrence may be onto something. He may mess around and create a model or bring a model back to the forefront that can be used to build buildings and generate free energy, free electricity. I think that's what he's getting at. I don't know, guys. Have any of y'all seen the interview? What do y'all think? If I was Terrence, I'd be very careful. I would stop chasing these scientists. I would stop chasing these people in this physics realm, trying to get peer reviews from them. I would just go with it. I mean, even if you have to use your model to, just see where it takes you. He has the models, guys. If you go watch the videos, he has the model. Maybe he can use the model to build something. I don't know. What's the chemical structure of the model? Is the chemical structure the same as melanin? Like, I would like for Terrence to set up his own labs to explore this stuff himself, because these white guys and the black ones that don't like people, they act as if they have a monopoly, if you will, on intellect. They act as if they want to unionize intelligence. Like it's only can be 250 intelligent people in America. That's not how this works. If Terrence intellect is coming from a dream and he's able to really flesh this out, because now Eric Weinstein, which is the same as Harvey Weinstein, the same last name. One Weinstein is the same as the other Weinstein. Anyway, if Eric Weinstein didn't say Terrence was all the way wrong, he agreed with the concept of the two. He basically agreed. He didn't always agree with his concept of 1 times 1 equals 2. However, he did agree with some things, basically in a roundabout way, about how 2 is a composite number versus being a prime number. He just reworded it. He also agreed with Terrence linchpin concept, and he thought it was amazing. He said that this is why you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because this linchpin concept is a baby, basically saying that. And he said, Terrence, if you really created this. And Terrence Howard was saying in the interview, yeah, I did. I created this. I created this linchpin concept. And he said it again. Well, if you really created this, almost as if he was shocked that a black man with braids can come up with a 6D flying model called a linchpin. Like he literally sat there and played in that man's face during that interview. And it's like, Terrence, you letting these people son you. And Eric said in the interview that he had not heard of Terrence Howard until Terrence Howard's first Joe Rogan interview. Like, sir, that's an impossibility. You know, Terrence Howard has played on so many movies. He was on primetime TV. Come on, man. This man is not no little boy. And I was just so shocked at the interview. Like, they're really sunning Terrence Howard right now. Like, it was wild. And it's because perhaps he has skipped a few steps, but he has gotten to a conclusion that it will take scientists their whole lifetime to get to. Now, whether it's the linchpin concept or the flower of life model, or taking 2 and turning it into a composite number versus a prime number, either way, this man is on to something. Right. How many other Terrences are out there? Exactly. And that's also right, Shannon. He has patents. He has many patents. Now, his patent situation during this particular interview, Eric Weinstein brushed Terrence's patents off like it's nothing, right? He said you can't patent science, which, okay, that's fair. You can't patent science, but science is always changing. So even with the concept of not being able to patent science, if it is changing, which it is changing, because now you guys are adding this higher power concept. You got direct energy weapons that's possibly tracking people when they sleep in order to see if it's a communication between that person and a higher power or some other out of worldly source. Literally, that's going on. So evidently science is changing. So evidently you should be able to patent some of these concepts. So Terrence has patents. For instance, he has the initial patent for virtual reality, which was used by the Department of Defense. It's used by Meta. It's used by so many companies. The initial patent was made by Terrence Howard. Now his patent, I think, expired or something along those. Is either I think it was abandoned. I think his patent was abandoned. However, if he was the initial one that came up with the black man with braids, now, if he was the initial one who came up with the concept, then that means he brought it to life. Technically, he's supposed to be collecting royalties from these meta headsets that people are using, calling it virtual reality, because he had the first concept. Whether the patent was abandoned or not, the very first patent on that particular subject matter has Terrence, I think his middle name Dwayne, I don't know, but it has Terrence Howard on it. And all that was brushed to the side as if patents don't matter. Patents absolutely do matter. But so many of our ancestors was told this same thing. Patents don't matter. And then years later, their concepts are stolen or they're murdered. If you live in New York and you have a concept that runs engines on water, you're murdered, and then 2 years later, car companies are coming out with your same engine that runs on water. So I'd be very careful because the quiet part that we need to say out loud is these concepts, these technologies, these inventions are coming specifically through Black Americans. They are. I don't care what people want to say. I don't care how they want to spin the narrative. I don't care if they want to call you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. They will do that in order to steal your intellectual property, label you as cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, son you in these interviews, have you begging for peer reviews, and all the while they're trying to re-engineer your exact same concept. You're going to be dead. They're going to reintroduce it. They're going to be added to the history books. Now they have a Nobel Peace Prize and you're dead. So if I was Mr. Howard, I would just use these concepts to my own advantage, possibly expand his team. There are tons of scientists, even if you have to go to the halls of the HBCUs, okay? Let me tell you, it's the same books, the same physics books that are used in Ivy League schools are the same physics books that are used in HBCUs. Get some of these young scientists, they understand the lingo. I mean, I used to understand the lingo, but I'm so far removed from that part. Anyway, they understand the lingo. They may not be able to get you a DARPA contract or a contract with the Department of Defense. Maybe you don't even want that. Figure out what you want. Get some young scientists. Build you a science lab and see where this takes you. That's my take on it. NVIDIA Chinese AI chips more powerful than the internet. How did they come up with that? How did AI even come into place in the first place? What made Terrence think about virtual reality? Like, to me, AI is a spinoff of virtual reality. To me, I don't know. Somebody said I understand a lot of it. I thought that Terrence Howard was wonderful. I did too, Shannon. I thought he did a great job explaining himself. Omega said I actually understood what he was saying. I watched it last night. Right. So how is it that Negroes all over America understood what he was saying, but according to Eric Weinstein, his white and other colleagues that we don't know, white, Indian, whatever colleagues is in his little crew, somehow they didn't understand what Terrence was saying because he was pronouncing words incorrectly. That does not matter. So basically, they're gonna make him look like he's crazy. They're gonna look like he's crazy. Somebody said leave DARPA alone. They will only weaponize his concepts only. They are defense-minded projects only. Yeah, they are. They are. You're right. You're right. Tide Cake Decor said, we as Black people get downloads all the time. I love his ideas and I'm all for. Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say. He got a download, y'all. And it's a hell of a download. It's a download that could possibly make him a trillionaire. And he's sitting here seeking validation from Eric. Eric, you a school teacher. It doesn't matter that you teach, that you've taught at MIT or you're still a school teacher. You, with your science knowledge, reverted to teaching. And there's nothing wrong with teaching. Someone has to do it. But the gods that be did not give you this concept in your sleep. And that's just it. They didn't give it to you. Maybe the ancestors, the ancestral realm, the higher power did not trust that you do the right thing with the concept, with the invention. Maybe they didn't think you'd do the right thing with the flower of life concept or the linchpins concept. So they didn't drop it into you in your dreams. They dropped it to Terrence. So Terrence, to me, and apparently to other people in the chat, should take full advantage of that and run with it. Now, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Terrence might be on to something. He might need to protect himself. I feel like Terrence is possibly gonna start getting hit with direct energy weapons. I hope not. But whatever is in his brain, whatever higher power that has contacted him, I am sure somebody out there in the realm of science. They said DARPA is on DARPA, which is the most powerful defense probably in the world, is only comprised of 250 people. 250 people. 250 people make up DARPA. Like what? Like what? What? DARPA, yes, the people who was behind the spike vax, aka Moderna. Okay, that spike vax, that was a DARPA invention. Okay, 250 people. Now, there could be 250 other most brilliant minds in the world. However, it's still only 250 people. 250 people make up DARPA. So if Terrence got a concept that even DARPA, the 250 brilliant minds at DARPA didn't even have, because they don't have 6D flying models, these linchpin models. They don't have that. If they had it, Terrence wouldn't have been able to patent it. So he has a patent on this particular model that Eric Weinstein said this is the most brilliant thing that he's ever seen in his life. That it's amazing. That means Terrence has something, whether all his concepts hit or not. He has at least one that hit to the good white man, Eric Weinstein. Now, to the rest of the community that was watching Terrence, all races of people could understand what he was saying. Just us regular people. Well, I'm in the middle of science and just regular. But however, just everyday people could understand exactly what he was saying without all the science terms, without all the word salad, could understand what he was saying. And he could possibly be a trillionaire. That's all I came up to see whether y'all saw it or not. Make you out as crazy. He is on to something. Yeah, exactly. The problem is we as adults are brainwashed to believing we need approval to do what we want. Patent it and do what you want. Do what you're led to do. Exactly. Exactly. Somebody said DARPA has no budget. If that tells you something, I didn't know that, Dr. No Q. I thought DARPA had one of those black budgets that was kind of like unlimited. That's some breaking news. I didn't know that. Terrence Howard, I think he knows AI is based on Black American microcosm melanin minds. Quantum computers are fueling DARPA. I think so too. Now, Pupper Dog, I ain't never seen you on here. I don't know who it is behind these weird names on here. But I'm along the lines that it is as well. AI is based on quantum computers. It could be tied into direct energy weapons. I could be saying it wrong, but I think some humans with these great minds are possibly turned into computers at night when they sleep. I think somehow, I don't know how it's maybe protons, neutrons, I think via neutrinos, not protons and electrons, but neutrons. I think neutrons are somehow used in this whole quantum computer AI realm. Neutrons store information as well as protons and electrons. And so neutrons would be along the lines of what they would call free energy. So you may hear people saying there will be a World War III and it will be over energy, of free energy. This is possibly tied into neutrons, quantum computers, direct energy weapons, and all of the above. Now, right now, they're saying Russia is leading in direct energy weapons because they have all types of weaponry, um, lasers, birds, all kind of stuff. So I think he's a genius too. I think he's a genius. I think they want him to feel like he's lesser than. He's sitting on his podcast with a hoodie on with braids. So he looks like, a very young person who is kind of, and Eric Weinstein kind of made the comparison to him being a kid multiple times in the interview. And it's like, this is a grown ass, very accomplished man sitting across from you. And Terrence, with this humbleness, with this newfound humbleness, I don't know if it's newfound or if it's old found, but he has this kind of humbleness that is like, no, man, get out there. Take up for yourself. Don't let nobody sit here and son you. Don't let no, because I'm telling you, if Terrence was a Nigerian from a tribe that didn't have lights or running water, and he had all these grand concepts like Terrence had, man, they would put him on such a pedestal. They would put him on a pedestal that, like, Nobel Peace Prize. He the smartest man on earth. He this, that. Just like they're doing that Nigerian guy who taught himself how to play chess. He's the smartest man. Look at how he played chess. Oh, he beat 13 people in chess, and it's like, wow. I'm sorry, you must haven't been in America. People play chess in the hood. We play chess just in the hood. You can go to Centennial Park on any given day and see two black men playing chess. So that ain't no breaking news. However, it's just like when you're a Black American and you have all these concepts, and one, you may be tapping into some kind of ancestral power. Oh, baby, they finna make you look like a fool. Baby, they finna make you look like a fool out here. They are finna make Terrence look like a straight fool out here. If he and Neil deGrasse, which is a black man, really, he called Terrence a fool in a lot of words. Here's my thoughts on Joe Rogan's overall interview, this second interview. I think Terrence Howard's first interview when he was by himself was better than this one, because Eric Weinstein, I have no problem with Eric Weinstein and his science, okay, as a teacher, but he's not in the field. Like, you're not working with crystals or plants or chemicals day to day. To my knowledge, he's a teacher. From what he said, he's been a professor, and now he's a podcaster or something like that. Maybe he is. Maybe he know what chemicals to mix together. Maybe he know how to liquefy. I'm sure he do. I'm sure he called himself a mathematician, and maybe he know how to build buildings, or at least write blueprints for building buildings using specific mathematics. But if and that probably also plays into how he feel about Terrence's math with the number 2, because if his math is correct, then they have to redo everything, including how they build buildings. Just with the stroke of a different math, a building could be built to generate free electricity, and the thought of that coming from a black man is just too much to handle. It's too much to handle. You don't need a peer review to be a genius. The reason why he is so humble is because they would patch clips of him flipping on the interviewer to make him look crazy. And there you go. You're right. And I never thought about it that way. The more loopy he looks, the more crazy they can paint him. And really, if sometimes when people are geniuses, they can't handle being called crazy. So that sometimes actually manifests where a person does actually go crazy because nobody believes them. Nobody believes in their concept. People aren't listening. And now you've actually gone crazy because you spent so much time looking at these concepts and people are laughing at you, and that drives you crazy. And now you're in the nut house, and while you in the nut house in that white straitjacket in that all white room, Eric Weinstein and his friends is like, gotcha, gotcha. And they're, redoing your concept. Let's not forget he's an actor. Yeah, Miles, like, I didn't take that into consideration, but right, let's not forget he is an A-list actor. So, you know, it ties into what Ty said. Maybe he's just acting very humble and modest because he don't want to be painted as somebody who is crazy. He don't want to be labeled that way. And this probably won't get to Terrence because I'm so shadow banned. But if it gets to him or someone he knows, there are millions of people in the science realm that knows exactly what he's saying, can understand. I remember when I was in college, my minor was music, and a lot of our minors were music, just with the people who I matriculated with. And when we was in the science class, I can't remember which class we was in, but we was mixing some chemicals and we was doing a periodic chart, mixing some chemicals on a periodic chart to make other things. And the music concept came up then when I was in school. This is 2002, 2000 through 2006, adding music to the periodic chart, basically saying that each element had a sound. Now, and this was a while ago. I was out of school in 2006, so this could have been, let's say, anywhere between 2002 to 2006. The kids, myself and other kids in the class, was mixing music with the periodic chart, literally. And so now, fast forward to 2024, it's brought up in the interview where somebody is mixing music with the periodic chart, basically saying every element has a sound. And while we were very immature at the time, we're really doing the same thing. We were really doing the same thing as Negro kids at an HBCU with the same periodic chart. Okay, as people who I'm classically trained, as a classically trained person, we was doing the same thing, using the same do re mi fa sol and mixing it with the periodic chart. Now, what they did in that interview was basically saying that there is a sound matching each element on the periodic chart because everything vibrates and everything vibrates at a certain sound frequency, basically. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe Terrence's flower of life could possibly be tied into the actual rose. That's why the first thing that I thought of was the War of Roses, which gave rise to the 100-year wars, which was about France, which years later, World War II, Hitler went to war with the Masons over the files that were stored in France. Sacred geometry files that were stored in France. Now, the rose, out of all plants, the rose is considered the highest vibrating plant. Now, botanists tested plants based on frequency and said, out of all these plants, all these flowers, the rose is the highest vibrating flower. That means this roses have a certain sound, a certain frequency, and they vibrate so fast and so high that they overshadow all other plants. So I think Terrence's flower of life could be tied into possible roses. And even in his explanation of it, he compared very briefly, he compared the flower of life to the very center of a rose. With, how a rose is very compacted in the center. If you peel a rose back, in the center it has these little just kind of circles where it's balled in together. That is the electricity of a rose in particular, and that was studied by botanists years ago, and is still studied to this day. So I don't know. I think Terrence on to something. I'm here for it. I'm here for this, which would explain why music has such an effect on the body. It's just like the chemical would. Exactly. Because plants are alive as well. So if the music has a certain effect on the body, that means it also has a certain effect on plants. And it's kind of like there's an analogy online where there is two sound barriers. It's going to be hard for me to explain, but certain frequencies match certain frequencies and certain frequencies don't match others. So if I'm vibrating at 5.28 hertz, I probably can't communicate with something that's vibrating at 432 megahertz. But if I'm vibrating at 432 megahertz, then I can communicate with something that's vibrating at 432 megahertz. So in a nutshell, the flower of life could be at 432 megahertz, and only if we vibrate at 432 can we understand this particular flower and the concepts and the power that comes with it. That's how I interpret it. So, and if you are a plant mummy like me, you know that plants lean towards sound. Even the plants that don't need a lot of light, they still lean towards sound. That gives you a great notation that not only are these plants alive, they are vibrating, they have auras. We can understand them. We can understand the language of the flower of the plant. However, it's very much alive. But when Negroes and people with melanin, whether it's you melanin if you're white, or a very light skin, or whether it's any other just melanin, people will sit here and look at you like you must be out your mind. No, actually, I'm not. Look it up. Look it up. Terrence could even find a new element, yes, or an element that the ancestors used to use that we forgot. Plus, roses are obsessed by the church. Thank you. See, that same flower, that same um, flower concept, flower of life concept, is actually on the Presbyterian stained glass. I looked at that as well. Now, the stained glass on the Presbyterian church ties directly into the War of Roses. So that's why, to me, it was a double entendre, damn near a triple entendre, because it's literally the same flower. This flower is everywhere. It's literally everywhere. But the concept of it from a 3D or 4D or 6D model was never taught. So we look at it as like a flat surface, whereas Terrence in his dream, he saw it as a unlimited surface. And so unlimited, whereas it could be its own realm that if you're able to vibrate at the same frequency, you can get communications from a higher source. You know, I think I like I'm trying to say, I think he on to something. Um I hope that he stick with it. Um I hope that he stick with it. Shannon said essential oils I used to study good for the skin. Rose, exactly. I make rose essential oil. It takes me about 3 weeks to make it because I buy actual roses. I chop roses up, and they have to sit in the sun. And I'm telling you, it heals the skin so quick that you won't believe it. You won't. Pure rose oil. A lot of people don't make pure rose oil, but pure rose oil made out of actual roses. That in fact, when I make the rose oil, I actually leave some of the live roses in the actual container. You know, it heals the skin so quickly. It is amazing. It's amazing. It's very expensive. It's expensive to make. It takes a while to make it. However, the benefits are unbelievable. The benefits are, it speaks for themselves. Okay. Plants are sentient beings. Greetings, everybody. Hey, Susu. We are so behind technology. The ancestor said, Terrence, here you are. Please go to Earth and catch up. Please help the Earth catch up. Exactly. 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 He mentioned all things are in continuous motion, which was shot down. I saw that, Ram. I saw that. Um I don't think he should have been shot down, because you know what? If it was a scientist saying that, the scientist would not have been shot down. Kind of like Eric Weinstein said in that interview. If you are a scientist, or even if you are a non-scientist and you have a concept and you submit it to a group of scientists or friends or whoever for a peer review, and you don't have a .edu on your email, they're not even gonna look at it. To me, that's a pompous, man. That is very pompous. That's very arrogant. That is shutting out possibly thousands of people who can make the world a better place, who can make America a better place. That is, to me, unionizing intellect. That is, to me, trying to have a monopoly on intellect. That is, to me, trying to shut out everybody else who could possibly be smarter than you are because of ego. You know, who's going to have a .edu email address unless you're a teacher? So the everyday science, I mean, shit, people who graduated from HBCUs who not teachers, they don't even have a chance to get into this group of uh, scientists who just think they are the end all be all. If these scientists knew so much, this particular group of scientists, if they knew so much, they would have never let COVID fly. Because last I checked, it was people like me, HBCU scientists, people who are not respected in the science realm, who was online saying spiked proteins is not correct. Don't take the vax. It was people like me and everyday people saying, wait, that don't even make sense. And then they were saying, well, trust the science. And then I was like, well, I'm a scientist. That shit don't make sense. And then people like me without a .edu email address was censored. You know, so do we trust the science or what? It's these scientific gatekeepers. Okay, these scientific gatekeepers. Where was their position when it came to COVID and the vaccine? They were nowhere to be found, or they were somewhere saying, hey, this works, trust the science, wear your mask, stand 6 feet apart. You know, that don't make no sense. That didn't make sense. That didn't make sense. But here they are. They want us to forget about that part. Eric Weinstein and your friends, y'all want us to forget about that part and just say, oh, okay, well, let's just trust that these however many hundreds of uh, scientists and their colleagues know what's best. Let's trust the fact that they said Terrence Howard is incorrect and just brush it off. No, man, no. Because if y'all was so smart, if y'all was so connected, if y'all was so unionized, y'all would have never let COVID fly in the first place. Y'all would have got Dr. Fauci, which is one of y'all colleagues, one of y'all main colleagues. Y'all would have got Dr. Fauci, put him in the corner and said this shit is incorrect. And if you let this vaccine go through, that's your ass. That's what y'all would have did. Y'all would have called him to the carpet and said, this is incorrect science. Do not let this fly. Y'all would have did peer reviews on the vaccine and all kind of stuff before that went out to the public. So their opinions does not matter. Terrence Howard should not be looking to them for any type of validation. Anytime. We need a whole nother group of scientists to rise to the top at this point. Whether you got it from a dream or whether you spent 4 years or 6 years or 8 years in college getting the degrees, whatever it is, After COVID, we need a whole nother group of scientists. I don't want to see no peer reviews from these people at this point. They have not taken us anywhere since the world wars. And in fact, Eric Weinstein, I want to call him Eric Whitcray so bad because Eric Whitcray is a classical composer that I can't get off my mind because he actually composes music in these frequencies. Um, Eric Weinstein said that they haven't had a um, a science breakthrough in the realm of geometry since the 1960s. And when you think about it, that's right after the World War era, which now you have this sacred geometry that you got from all these temples. Ah, when they was able to decode it, y'all, I believe they hid it. I believe they hid it, they hid it, they hid it. This stuff was never made. The actual files were never made public. Only thing that was made public was the actual knowledge. The actual knowledge of them raiding the temples, and that's Googleable. If you Google the Adolf Hitler's war against the Masons and how the Masonic temples were raided, a lot of people have made documentaries, a whole documentaries about this. People have shown files. People have went on the inside of where some of these files were stored and opened some of the files. I think you have to have certain credentials to even get it to see the files. But my thing is, if this stuff, if it ain't that important, just make it, make it public. What's so wrong with scanning the files? Let it open the files up and let us judge and see whether Terrence is right or wrong. Why would Hitler go to war with the group of Masons? What would they do? What's so special about them? What was so special about them? I mean, today they're just labeled as some kind of freaks or some kind of people who are a detriment to the community. I ain't talking about these new ones. I'm talking about them old ones that was building old buildings back in the day. And also, let's not forget that during World War One, the World War One era, when Tulsa was bombed, y'all remember all those Masons that was protecting Tulsa? Y'all remember back in that era, you could just Google it. Back in that era, the Masons were the actual ones that was building buildings for the business owners. They was building banks. They was building all kind of business buildings. So what did they know? What did they know? Baby, what did they know? Did they know some tea? I'm trying to see. If they know some tea, I'm trying to see. He was exploring theoretically. He needs credibility by proving people in this field. Possibly. I don't think he do. I think he just need to get out there. I will be ordering that. Yes, you're gonna love it, Trina. You're gonna love the rose oil is amazing. I wonder what that means when it comes to combining music notes with words because words have frequency too. So combining them makes a different type of frequency. Well, you're not when you're combining it. Hold on. Let me see what you're saying. So for instance, the sound of boreum. The word boreum has a frequency. And if you mix a sound with the word boreum, what is that particular frequency? Girl, you just came up with press play. You just came up with an equation in itself. You just actually you may have actually just came up with an equation in itself because see how the periodic chart is set up. It's kind of set up by groups, right? Well, it's not kind of. It's set up by groups. So they're doing it based on the color groups versus the actual name of the metal. So gold has a particular sound, and they actually kind of said that in the live with this Joe Rogan interview. They actually said that. They showed a white man who played how gold sounds. But if you take into consideration what you just said, which is true, words have a frequency as well as the actual element in itself. So gold could have been called something totally different. And it could sound totally different if you match those two frequencies together. Now, you must be a scientist or something. You must be one of those ones that get those dreams. Press play, you must be one of those ones that get those dreams, okay? Because ain't no regular person gonna even say something like that. But you're right. Eric contradicted his first intentions to be of some assistance. I think he did as well, Ram. I think he did as well. Very arrogant, but peer review is getting its come up soon. I think so too. How do you know? How do you don't know he wasn't on DMT? I don't really know about DMT, so I don't want to be ignorant in my answer. I don't know. Maybe he could have been. And I'm just gonna guess DMT is some type of mushroom or something. I don't know. He could have been. Who knows? All I know is Terrence said this came to him in a dream. I tried to play it, but it was no sound on the It wasn't no sound on the playback for some reason. But he could have been. I don't know. He could have been. Okay, he could have been on some shrooms. Peer review is not relevant. That's what I'm starting to think. All the doctors that did were shut down. Exactly. COVID made no sense. HIV equals AIDS made no sense. Absolutely no. Modern science is probably mediocre compared to what we used to have in the pyramid ages. Exactly. We as people do not need validation from exclusive club of scientists. I'm with you on that. I am with you on that. I am with you on that. Yes, you can contact me, Miles. Do it. See, can do it on IG because I be on IG more. Or you could even do it on YouTube. Well, yeah, do it on IG. Do it on my DM. I want Fauci to take all the blame. He was just the pawn. Prosecute all of them. Exactly. Exactly. Yep, spit that all the buildings in the historical districts are built by us. Come on now. Birds wake up plants. Look. Sound can heal or destroy just as water. And that was the point of all of this. Frequencies matter. The flower of life has a frequency that Terrence suggests is 432 megahertz. It's to me, I think it's probably possibly the rose, and if it is, that means the rose in itself has possibilities that we have not even explored. I have a rose bush in my yard, and it blooms on Mother Day. It literally blooms on Mother's Day, and like a few days or possibly like a week, it's not a week, but like a few weeks later, it'll be all the roses will be gone off of it. But on Mother's Day, around Mother's Day, right the day before or 2 days before, my rose bush blooms, and then all of the roses disappear. Yep. Oh my God! So you can create a medication based on sound and frequency needs because every part of the body has its own frequency. Bingo. Bingo. So, right, chemicals in the body turns into crystals. They crystallize. Sometimes they crystallize for the worse. Kidney stones, for example. Sometimes they crystallize for the worse, but sometimes when people are deceased for a certain um, number of years, as they decay, um, the fluids, well, most of the time they suck the fluids out of the body, but just say you didn't suck the fluids out of the body, the fluids would crystallize. So what would the frequency? I think this stuff need to be fleshed out a little bit better, because we'll probably get into a realm of science that will sound um we'll probably get into a realm of science that will sound a bit out there. um I don't know. We'll probably get into a deeper realm of science if we go that route. We'll probably get into a realm of science. I just like science, but I haven't been to college for it. And I get drama, but I don't think I have gotten anything as deep as Terrence did. Um, well, press play. I think it could be the melanin, could be the U melanin. I don't know what color you are. Um, However, some of us get these downloads. I mean, you possibly just got a download that I hope Terrence get to see. Maybe in this whole realm, Terrence, because he has a whole nother periodic chart model that actually makes more sense than the current model that we're using in school. And his model is based on, I think, a model that came out during the World Wars, which is wild. So if we go back and look at the scientists who were put on a pedestal during the World Wars, I feel, and then there was a lot of German scientists that was sent, lot of Nazi German scientists that was sent to America during the World Wars. Now they had their hands on a lot of these occult, what they call occult sciences from these temples. Were they trying to practice what they read and they started doing it wrong? Uh, what was that about? Or were they just great? What was up with these NATO people? And all of these pictures of um, these black people who are biblical figures that Putin keeps showing, is that from the files? I'm just trying to see. Maybe Terrence Howard can go holler at Putin. Maybe Terrence Howard need to stop chasing these scientists and go see what Russia let you look through some of the files and see whether your flower of life concept matches something that was in those documents. I also think antiquity isn't as far back as we think. I feel like about 1,000 years of history was just erased. I feel like a lot of stuff that they're saying happened in the 1400s, in the 1300s. I think it happened more recent than that. I think antiquity was kind of moved around during the Reconstruction era. I think that's one of the things that gave rise to the world wars, because the world wars was about a lot, including culture. Cultures were moved around during the world wars. So, you know, that's my take on it. Um, Someone said we've been having our rose bush for years. It's dying. Any tips? They die and they come back. My thing is they bloom right around Mother's Day and then they die um weeks after. But the next year they're gonna come right back. When you keeping roses outside, you just have to keep them watered. They're still gonna die even if you keep them watered. They're still gonna die. I think people who have rose gardens, they put a certain fertilizer on them to keep them alive. And it's specific fertilizer for roses that's not used for othering flower plants, if you will. But if you can't find that particular fertilizer, then you could use just a fertilizer for flowering plants, and that fertilizer should keep it alive longer than just like the typical um normal than just like the typical rose bush. But I let mine die because it always come back. I just keep the weeds out of it, and it grows right back. You know, grows right back. But I buy roses year round. The roses that I buy year round, they're housed in a cooler. So it's a lot of rose bushes. Like for people who sell roses, the bushes are grown in coolers, and the roses are stored in the cooler. There's a big facility here in Atlanta, in Metro Atlanta, that has a whole lot of roses in the cooler. in the freezer. So, not telling you to dig your rose bush out the backyard and make a makeshift. No, don't do all that. But just keep it how it is and use the fertilizer around that plant. It should stay alive a lot longer. Anyway, I didn't want to keep you. I just wanted to get that thought out. um, I am launching a podcast later on this week that's going to be history related. This is just some science talk. I just wanted to react to Terrence because it was just on my mind, and I'm like, oh my God, they are hammering Terrence down, trying to make him look like a fool out here in these streets. And I wanted to know y'all thoughts on it. I suppose you could add water to that as well. Yeah, you could add water to the fertilizer, of course. Right? Our people were master for engineers, women included. Hint, hint, golden lady. Yeah, you're onto something. Exactly. Um. Anyway, y'all, that's it. Let me see them read a few more comments. They pissed that Terrence figured this genius first, so they're downplaying him while they run to the lab. That's what I'm trying to say too, Ty. That's what I'm trying to say too. They are definitely running to the lab. They are definitely running to the lab. Shannon, you probably can buy a bush from Home Depot or Lowe's and plant it. They're not gonna come with roses on it, but it's just gonna come with the bush with the roots and plant it and then plant it in your garden, water it, and just watch how it bloom. It's gonna bloom and die and bloom and die. And I feel like that's tied into the frequency of it and how it vibrates so fastly. It blooms and dies and blooms and dies. But of course, fertilizer keep it around longer, like I said, and then actual freezing techniques like cold techniques keep it around longer. Anyway, I love y'all. I will be on here later on this week. If you don't have your American history books, get them now on helloplants.com. I actually want to talk to y'all about that too, but I just wanted to talk about Terrence Howard right now. Anyway, great hearing from you, Mr. Downloads. I'm back, Neek, and I love y'all so much. And I will see y'all later on this week unless some other breaking news happened that I think is worth us discussing. All right. Bye, y'all.